Hello everyone watching. Thank you so much for tuning in to my channel. You might be wondering why I'm not traveling at the moment. I decided to make this video because I never got to formally introduce myself to you guys. You might know me as Joe, the travel guy, but I wanted to give you a bit of a background on how my life is here in the Philippines in general, and how it was like growing up as a half-blood. My father is French and my mother is Filipina, so that makes me a half-blood, or what they call here as a mestizo. So yeah, I'm Joe, I'm 28 and I grew up here in the Philippines. The only time I actually visited France was when I was 1, when I was 3, and recently back in 2017 with my partner, we visited France again for Christmas. But you can actually hear that side of my story in Mark's channel, Every Man Has a Story. He recently interviewed me, and thank you so much, Mark. Basically, just to recap, my father served 20 years in the French army. He was a paratrooper, and his go-to vacation places here in Asia was Thailand and Vietnam. And one day, before heading back to France, a friend of his told him to try visiting the Philippines. Now, my dad initially never planned on visiting the Philippines, but he took his friend's advice and actually came here. So he was in a mall, he met my mom. My mom worked as a sales rep in a mall in Cebu City. And yeah, my dad started hitting on her. To cut the story short, they eventually got married, and here I am, guys. So yeah, one interesting thing about growing up here as a half-blood is that it wasn't always easy. I grew up in a household that was like mostly a French household. Although my dad never really spoke to me in fluent French, the culture, the food in our household was mostly French, but my mom spoke to me in our local dialect here, Bisaya. So I would say my mother tongue would be Bisaya, and then I can also speak Tagalog, which is our national language here in the Philippines, and I can speak a good amount of French, but not fluent, and then fourth would be English. But yeah, it was never that easy, mainly because you look different. So Filipinos back then called foreigners here Americano or Americano, and when I tried to hang out with Filipino kids, sure, we got to play. We had a lot of fun, but there was always a bit of, like mean things like, "Oy, Amerikanong hilaw," which in our dialect translates to, "Oh, you're not a pure foreigner," or, or it could be the other way around, I guess, and say, "Oh, you're not pure Filipino." So, I don't know why, as a kid, I really took offense to that. Of course, at this age, it's pretty funny. To me, I remember as a kid that used to make me feel upset. I used to feel like even though I can speak fluent Bisaya, I could never fully fit in. There seems to be a boundary between what the Filipino kids were doing, what their trip was, between that and whenever I'm in the picture. It seems like they kind of have to, they kind of have to adjust because I'm there. And of course, I didn't want that. I could also remember growing up, we used to go to parties hosted by other Frenchmen, and they also had kids who were half-bloods like me, and it seemed like I got along with them better. And I guess that's because we grew up in the same household. wherein a Filipina mom was taking care of you, teaching you the Filipino ways of life, and you also have a French dad who's teaching you the French side of, of life. There's actually a handful of us here, half-bloods, which is amazing. And yeah, I think I spent most of my childhood with it was a mix. I spent it with half-bloods, and I also spent it with Filipino kids. I would say the only major thing that's stopping me from being like fully Filipino, I guess, in their eyes, was because of how I looked, my height, my I guess it's, you know, there's always this mixed features. But yeah, elementary days, it was a mix. High school came. I remember I transferred to a more foreign type of school, Montessori. And when I arrived there, it was completely different. It was more of it was a very foreign school. It was almost like a free-for-all, and there were a lot of half-bloods just like me, and I immediately fit in with them. I met a lot of good friends that are still my friends to this day. I have a good friend who's half Danish, half Filipino. I have a friend who has a very strong Chinese blood, half Japanese, half Filipino. Yeah, it was really diverse. Taiwanese friend, Korean. That was basically my younger years, guys. But of course, don't get me wrong. Back then, when I was still 12, 13, 14, I remember hanging out with Filipino kids, and we used to climb trees. We went to the beach. We used to pick green mangoes with our bare hands and just grab a handful of salt, just eat that on the side before eating lunch or after lunch or whatever. So yeah, guys, I could confidently say that I am 100% Filipino. At this point, I am very comfortable here in the Philippines. It's my home. The only time I actually visited France was back when I was 1, when I was 3, and the last time was back in 2017. We spent Christmas there in Europe, in Germany and in France. So we spent 3 weeks there with my partner, which was amazing. There's actually a funny story behind that as well that happened to us in Paris. If you watched Mark's video of my interview, Every Man Has a Story, then you will find out. But if you guys want to know more, a bit more color on what exactly happened in Paris, then you can always leave it down on the comment section, and I could make another video of our Europe trip and how crazy that turned out. But yeah, guys, so that was my teenage years. Now, when I turned 18, I remember the embassy kept sending letters every year asking if I was interested to join the military in France, but it never sparked my interest. Again, as I said, I grew up here in the Philippines, and I really wanted to settle here and make a living here in the Philippines. I never did well in college, guys. I was very lost in college. Growing up, I always wanted to be a pilot. Never happened. It was too expensive. I never wanted to, make a burden of asking my parents to enroll in flight school. So I tried to look for a course that I could take in college. I tried 3 different courses. My last course was biology. But yeah, never really did well. Actually, I didn't finish college. I remember that was my 3rd year in college, wherein my partner decided to fly to Manila and take a flight attendant course. She wanted to be a flight attendant, and for some reason that just sparked something in me. I was so excited because that was finally my chance in, working in the aviation industry. I might not be driving the aircraft, but I'm still in the aircraft, right? So we both studied in WCC, got the certificate after 3 months, and then we applied. I got accepted to AirAsia Malaysia. Unfortunately, my partner wasn't, so she tried applying to other airlines. After a month, she got accepted in Cebu Pacific, and funny enough, she started flying while I was still waiting for my documents. I was still waiting on when I'll start training in Malaysia. It was such a scary thing too, thinking about like, oh my gosh, once I start working in Malaysia, I won't be in the Philippines anymore. And that would be my first time working abroad. And 10 months came, finally got the call, went to Malaysia, and I blew it all away, guys. I didn't last a month. I was low-key jealous of my partner working here in the Philippines, getting to visit her parents anytime on her off, being comfortable. So I decided to fly back, risk it all. I definitely placed everything on the line and applied in Cebu Pacific. I remember arriving midnight, and it wasn't the next day, but the day after that was my interview in Cebu Pacific. That was so nerve-wracking. It was basically all or nothing for me. I didn't tell my dad about what happened. He thought that I was still in Malaysia, training for AirAsia. So the day came, I applied, and oh my gosh, I got accepted. It was definitely the happiest day of my life. And I remember calling my dad and showing him the background, which was the busy streets of Manila. And I told him, hey, guess where I'm at? And he was like, oh, so how's training? Blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, yeah, it's all good, but can you guess where I'm at? And he was just taking his time. And then he finally realized, you're not in Manila? Are you in Manila? What are you doing in Manila? I thought you were training. And so I had this thing going for me. I was so confident because I got hired in Cebu Pacific. So I told him in all confidence that I'm sorry, I'm back in Manila, but please don't get angry. I got accepted in Cebu Pacific, so everything's working out. I'll still be a flight attendant, so don't worry. And I guess he was also happy. My decision, basically. My parents were never the type of parents wherein they forced me to take a certain course in college or to take a certain path that they wanted to. They were always the type who had my back. And as long as I was doing something right, as long as it's not something bad, illegal, whatever it may be, as long as I could benefit from whatever I'm doing, then they're super okay with it. So I guess I'm very blessed to have parents like that. But yeah, finally I was working for Cebu Pacific. I was very happy. I got to visit my parents here on my off. We got to explore more places in Luzon. We had flights all over the Philippines, and not just that, even in other countries. But my time as a flight attendant was also cut short because of the pandemic. So I pretty much didn't last a year. Pandemic happened, and we flew back here to Negros. We felt very lost. After 2 years of studying to be a flight attendant, applying, and we really thought that was it. We really thought we were going to spend the next 10, 15 years just flying, enjoying our lives as cabin crews, but I guess one big lesson that we learned from that incident was always have a plan B, and as much as possible, a plan C as well. Nothing is permanent, everything is temporary, so I guess you just gotta enjoy the ride and enjoy while it lasts. 2020 was, I guess, okay because the first few months we were still getting paid by Cebu Pacific. So that was okay, but then reality hit us again, and we were like, now what? I mean, pretty much we were just expecting, a 2 week off or 2 months max of just waiting for the pandemic to die down, and then we're back flying. That's pretty much all we knew. But then we were facing reality now of what are we gonna do now? What sort of thing are we gonna do to make money? We wanted to be independent. We started living together with my partner since 2018, so we couldn't go back with our parents. So now what? Luckily, we found this franchise of selling takoyaki. I'm not sure if you guys know what takoyaki is. They're small Japanese, they're like savory cakes with octopus inside, or whatever flavor you want to put in. So we ventured in basically in the food industry. We set up a stall by Valencia Park, and so in Valencia there's a Sunday market wherein people could sell goods, vegetables, whatever you want to sell there basically. We did that for a year and a half of almost every Sunday, just grinding, going there, and that's pretty much how we made a living back then. We were definitely tight with budget. We didn't make as much as we made flying for Cebu Pacific, obviously, but it was good enough, guys. And the pandemic might be a completely negative thing, but I always like to see the positive side to everything that has happened. And there was definitely a positive to that, wherein it taught us a different skill as well. So now it's easier for us to adapt to any situation that's handed to us. From living a life of, oh, we get paid every month, no worries, we get free stays in amazing hotels, we got to fly to different destinations. If you wanted to fly, as long as it's within Cebu Pacific's destinations, then it's all for free. To, oh my gosh, we're making money just once a week now, and we're tight on budget, and we have to buy grocery, and we have to do this and that. That definitely taught us a lot of lessons, and we carry that lesson now in what we're doing. And I'm so thankful that we actually went through that. You know how there's a saying, there's always a rainbow after the rain. At this point, it's not exactly a rainbow yet, but I guess at this point, we're actually living a happier life in a way. My partner is now doing online. She absolutely loves the freedom of working online, and the time management. It's not like being a flight attendant wherein you get called the next day at 2 a.m., you got a flight, and then the very next day you got an evening flight, or it's a very hectic job aside from the amazing benefits, of course. Now there's actually freedom for us. We're both doing online. But I also found my passion because of what happened. I'm now here talking to you guys. I'm now fully confident talking to you guys in front of the camera. I was never confident. In fact, growing up, I was very insecure of my voice. I pretty much hated my voice. I guess it's kind of normal to go through that phase wherein you hate something about you. But yeah, eventually you learn to embrace your flaws. I'm not perfect in any way, but I try to be a better person every day. Yeah, guys. So that's pretty much what happened. If you have more questions about my life, about a certain time period, about a certain scenario that you want me to elaborate, please feel free to leave a comment down below. I would be more than happy to chat with you guys. I actually love seeing comments on my YouTube videos. And tell me, guys, if you want to see more of this type of content, um, please let me know. Again, I could make a lot of contents like this wherein I'm just sitting down talking to you guys, explaining to you about whatever it may be in the Philippines, or my experiences, or I'm planning on talking about my dad's experience here in the Philippines. Again, he's been here for 30 years. I'm now 28. He was here since 1993. So that's 30 years of staying here in the Philippines, all the wisdom he can share. So yeah, guys, and please don't forget to check out my travel vlogs as well. We were doing other Asian countries like Vietnam and Malaysia, but now we are actually focused on doing more Philippine vlogs. One travel at a time, we're discovering the beauty of the Philippines. Just recently, we went to Iloilo, Bacolod, and Guimaras, and let me tell you guys, Iloilo is so clean, so amazing. You can actually check that out in my travel vlog. And yeah, I hope you guys can support me in this journey. With your love and support, I could actually make this full time. I can make more content for you guys. Please don't forget to like, subscribe to my channel if you enjoy my content. Show some love by leaving comments down below. And yeah, I'll see you on the next video, guys. So thank you so much for watching. You guys take care. Bye bye. Peace.